different commitments that are being implemented in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Director for the Manifesto, Mr. Willis Bashasha. The Honorable Professor Ephraim Kamuntu, Senior Presidential Advisor on the Economy. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be here this afternoon to represent my minister, the Honorable General Odong JJ Abubakar, who is unable to be here with us today because he has duties out of the country. But I'm here with colleagues, Ambassador Leonard Mugerwa, who is our head over the International Legal and Social Affairs Department at the Ministry, and our Principal Policy Analyst, Mr. Nicholas Zebosi. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, our mandate as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is to promote and protect Uganda's interests abroad. And in order to implement that mandate, we have a number of objectives that we utilize. And among these is promotion of regional and international peace and security. We promote Uganda's economic and commercial interests abroad. We promote regional and continental integration. We promote adherence to international law and commitments because the countries. We enhance diaspora participation in national development. We strengthen the provision of diplomatic, protocol, and consular services, both here in Uganda and abroad. We promote Uganda's image abroad. And lastly, we have an objective to enhance the institutional capacity of the ministry. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our missions abroad contribute to the achievement of the NRM Manifesto through trade promotion, attraction of investment, promotion of tourism, and mobilization of resources for national development. In our engagements, the Ministry ensures that tangible benefits, to the extent possible, are derived to support our socio-economic growth and development. As you may know, we have 40 missions abroad. These 40 missions include 36 high commissions and embassies, as well as 4 consulates. And all these have a bias on commercial and economic diplomacy. So we do a lot more in terms of promoting commercial and economic diplomacy, as I will explain. The priority areas of focus in the current manifesto under implementation, as we all know, to secure the future of all Ugandans, the NRM government prioritized the following areas: creation of jobs and wealth for all Ugandans, delivering education, health, and water, ensuring justice and equity, protecting life and property, achieving economic and political integration. Our ministry directly contributes to the first one, which is job creation, The second one, which is delivering education, health, and water. And the fifth one, which is achieving economic and political integration. In respect to contributing towards creation of jobs and wealth for Ugandans, we have approaches. One of the approaches is trade promotion. And as you may recall, in conjunction with other government agencies, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs organized the 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit and the 3rd South Summit that took place in January this year. During the two summits, we organized the East African Business Sidelines. And the idea or notion was to provide an opportunity for Ugandan businesses to matchmake with businesses from the countries that indeed subscribed to the non-aligned movement. Beyond that, I'm glad to report that Uganda-UK bilateral trade amounts to $356 million US as of 2023, with Uganda's exports of goods and services valued at, actually not US dollars, pounds, with Uganda's exports of goods and services valued at 93 million pounds, mainly in agricultural produce, specifically fruits and vegetables, coffee, tea, cocoa, while UK's exports to Uganda amounted to 263. There is a trade imbalance there, but we are doing our best to ensure that we close the gap. As you very well know, the ministry organizes occasionally joint permanent commissions, and we have held a number of these. One of those is the Uganda-Tanzania JPC, where we contributed to the lowering of a levy of road charges. It is important to appreciate that Ugandan trucks that were transporting goods into Tanzania, Dar es Salaam to be very specific, from the Mutukula border were being charged $500 US. Yet those coming from other countries were being charged $142 US. So during the JPC, we were able to negotiate that Ugandans too pay the same figure as other members of the community were paying, from $500 US to $142 US. Additionally, during that same JPC, Uganda was allowed to export an additional 10,000 tons of sugar into the Tanzanian market. Chair of the session, in respect to contribution towards creating jobs and wealth again, we had a JPC with South Africa and agreed on a number of issues. Within the airline industry, there was an imbalance where Uganda charged a certain amount for ground rates and South Africa charged a different amount. And during this engagement, we were in position to agree that we all pay equal ground rates. What Uganda Airlines pays the other side is what indeed the South African airline that terminates in Entebbe would also pay. On the other hand, we had engagements with Algeria, and in this engagement, 14 Ugandan companies were linked to counterparts in Algeria. It is important to note that the Algerians have opened their market to Uganda, but it's imperative that the Ugandan companies have partners so that they navigate the regulations in that country. Chair, we negotiated removal of non-tariff barriers with the government of South Sudan. As you may recall, we had an impasse at one time where trucks, around 52 trucks with Ugandan goods, had been impounded. Actually, 62 trucks had been impounded. And out of those, we negotiated the release of 57 trucks. And I'm glad to report that there is seamless movement of goods between Juba and Kampala at the moment. Our mission in Washington, D.C., in a collaboration with PASSEED, facilitated 12 Ugandan from Global Standards Agency to export to the U.S. market. As you will appreciate, some of these countries have extremely high standards, and not everybody or anybody can export in these markets. And to export, you must have certification. So we facilitated certification for 12 Ugandan farms. Our mission in Japan has held and continues to hold Ugandan coffee testing and awareness sessions in Tokyo. And the aim really is to increase the tonnage of coffee that we export in Japan. During the state visit of the President in May in Nairobi, the two heads of state directed that all products manufactured within the East African community should be traded freely without any barriers. So we have that directive from the two principals, and for now, we've not had any barriers or any stoppage of goods across the two borders. We also participated and negotiated in a quota-free market access with Serbia to export fruits, vegetables, beef, and other products from Uganda. Accordingly, 48 companies dealing in coffee, beef, fruits, dairy, flowers, banana, art and craft, tourism were introduced to the Serbian market. And this was done with the support of PASSEED. We have negotiated bilateral agreements and MOUs for protection of externalized workers, especially in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, as well as Qatar. So for what you hear that our Ugandan girls are not treated well in some parts of the world when they go to work, the mechanism or solution is to have MOUs or bilateral agreements, labor agreements, that indeed protect their dignity, and we've done that in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may be aware, in the month of September, last September, the Chinese government hosted the FOCAC, Forum on China-Africa Summit in Beijing, and we signed a protocol of phytosanitary requirements for export of dried chilies to China. As you will appreciate, the Chinese appreciate our chilies, but unfortunately, we did not have an agreement. Thank you very much. We did not have an agreement for exporting these chilies in the Chinese market. We have now concluded an arrangement, a protocol, and Ugandan chilies can enter into that market. Besides the chilies, there is a company called CCCC and NUCAF, which is a coffee company, that signed an agreement to increase the tonnage of coffee that we export into the Chinese market. And on another note, we signed an MOU between Uganda Industrial Research Institute and the South African Hexagon Electric in the field of electrical equipment. This company manufactures transformers, and they want to come to Uganda and manufacture these from here. Through the trade promotion efforts of our embassy in Algeria, coffee exports increased from $0.6 million in 2018 to $51 million in 2022 alone. In terms of attracting investment, our mission in London has been an anchor, as well as a very big contributor to our relationship between the UK Export Finance. And as a result, we have a total investment portfolio of UK companies in Uganda at over £3 billion. The UK Export Finance increased its threshold of financing for projects in Uganda from £300 million in 2017 to £2 billion in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, this does not just happen. It happens because our mission or our embassies engage with these financiers. To be very specific, the projects that we may all be aware are the infrastructure projects. One of those is the Kampala Industrial Park in Namanve, worth £200 million. Hoima Kabale International Airport by Colas, £270 million. Then we have Ugandan small and medium-sized agri-business companies supported by Agdekov, UK, to scale up production and add value to agricultural produce to the tune of £180 million. And then UK-based engineering company Wally is carrying out engineering designs for the East African crude oil pipeline. So these are activities that have been coordinated by our mission in London. Additionally, they mobilized investment in bulk grain storage and processing to reduce on post-harvest losses, solar power irrigation pumps by Nexus Green, a company called Nexus Green, to the tune of £80 million. Then we have a UK company called Gridworks, which has made proposals for significant investment in electricity transmission. UK company NMS signed an agreement in 2022 worth about £300 million for development of agricultural infrastructure. Another one, Mabi Bridges and Colas, are in advanced stages of negotiations with the Ministry of Works, Transport and KCCA. I'm sure you heard this in the KCCA presentation this morning. The Vice President of China pledged to offer Uganda RMB 200 million, equivalent to 28 million, and RMB 50 million, equivalent to 7 million funding for projects and military assistance, respectively. I raise this because these were negotiated by the Minister of Foreign Affairs when he visited China in Fokak. We have attracted investment companies, Sonatrach and Sonelgaz from Algeria, and agreed to cooperate in areas of energy, oil and gas. During the Uganda DRC Business Forum held in Kinshasa and Goma in 2022, 300 business deals were reached between the Ugandan community and business community in DRC. It's very important to note that during COVID, the biggest market Uganda exported to was indeed DRC. But just to give some examples, there are names here, I may not mention the names, but these individuals got opportunities to supply 15,000 trays of eggs to Eastern DRC on a weekly basis. This is a market they did not have before. We had opportunity to supply fresh and dried mushrooms and Toke brand, the powdered matoke, under the Presidential Banana Initiative. Equity Bank Limited in Uganda accepted to create a 5 billion credit financing facility for business activities between Uganda and DRC. And all this was negotiated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, working with our mission in DRC. As you may know, we have a company called Straight from the UAE, working with NEC in Nakasongola. They have constructed a factory worth $50 million to manufacture armored vehicles here in Uganda. So if you went to Nakasongola, you will find that facility. Additionally, Chair and members listening in, the ministry is responsible or heavily participates in the negotiation of bilateral air service agreements for Uganda Airlines. So for every route that our friends in Uganda Airlines undertake, just know that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was there to support them, to ensure that they get a license to terminate in those capitals. We have participated in our trade fairs in Havana, in Qatar, and there is an expo going on right now in Osaka, in Japan. And in so doing, we encourage Ugandan business companies to travel and explore opportunities in these countries. The Ugandan diaspora, as you know, is a very, very important part of our national development, with a lot of potential to invest back home. But as we all know, they've been sending remittances, the money they send back home. And according to figures from BOU, in 2020, they transferred close to $1 million US dollars. 2023, they have transferred close to 1.4 billion US dollars. They've remitted these resources in our economy. These remittances are extremely important, and one of our core responsibilities as Ministry of Foreign Affairs is to ensure that we take care of the needs of the members of the diaspora, because their remittances assist in stabilizing our currency against the dollar. In terms of our tourism promotion, we have organized what we call farm trips, familiarization trips for tour operators in Turkey, the Scandinavia, from Mombasa, and Denmark. These farm trips have been extremely important to expose tour operators from these destinations to see the tourism potential in our country, and we are beginning to yield fruits from these efforts. 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, our colleagues in Mombasa had an event in Munyonyo, our consulate in Mombasa, where they invited tour operators in Kenya to come and see the tourism potential in Uganda. As you'll all appreciate, when you go to Mombasa, the only thing you're going to do is go to the beach and just step in the sand. But there's a lot more to see in Uganda. So we brought them here, and the idea is, as they terminate tourists into Mombasa, they should extend them for a number of days here in Uganda, so that we also tap into that tourism market. So that's what our team is doing. And of course, we've done or participated in exhibitions in China, London, Berlin, and in South Africa. In respect to the manifesto objective or intentions on delivering education and health, our missions have attracted scholarships to Ugandans. In the past 3 years, around 1,153 scholarships have been attracted. And in 2022-2023, that is the breakdown is 2022-2021, 572, 2021-2022, 314, 2022-23, 267. Our mission in London, the United Kingdom, promotes collaborations between Ugandan and UK universities, including Makerere, IUIU, Gulu University, Lira, and Busitema, in the fields of medicine, engineering, and social sciences. And of course, as we all know, the UK government continues to offer postgraduate scholarships under the Chevening arrangement. In respect to health, We've had engagements with the NHS in the UK with a view of finding opportunities for our nurses to legitimately work in these economies. And we continue to do that. And indeed, some of them have gotten access to opportunities within the UK. And again, on the health front, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs negotiated a grant from Iran, and it is from that we got the Uganda-Iran hospital based in Naguru. Chair and members, in respect to economic and political integration, which is a very, very important aspect for us as a ministry, as you very well know, we have the African Continental Free Trade Area, which brings together 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion US dollars. This is a very, very big opportunity for us as Ugandans, whereas we yearn for markets in Europe and China, there are markets on the continent. We have a challenge there, which challenges we are working on, and the challenge is that the free movement of our persons across the African borders. We hold a view that goods cannot move unless the people can move freely. Goods cannot move freely unless the citizens or the people on the continent can freely move. So that is something we are working on, both bilaterally, but also having discussions within the African Union. Certainly we have challenges in our implementation mechanisms, the usual challenges of our resources, which hinder which hinders the appropriate and adequate participation in the UN, the United Nations activities, the African Union, among others. And of course, I mentioned a few countries where we've had joint permanent commissions, but it would be extremely good to have joint permanent commissions with as many countries as possible, especially on the African continent, where we have quick access to markets. The other major challenge we have is the high demand for consular services, especially for distressed Ugandans abroad, those who are in the Middle East. The numbers are extremely big, and we grapple and struggle with these on a regular basis. And then certainly, the other major challenge we have is on coordination. Our missions will convince potential high-end investors to come to our country, and they are defeated by our own bureaucracies and processes. Therefore, Chair, there is need to increase the volume of exports of Ugandan products, but in so doing, again, it comes with a challenge. Our packaging is not entirely good. We need to do
with you on the different negotiations and what they have brought to the country. We see increase in tourism, contribution to the economy. Of course, this could have not come easily, but also through the marketing of the country, and of which we know you do a lot in terms of different engagements at different levels. We definitely identify with the different challenges that you have raised here, and I think it's important that the government looks for the necessary support so that these outstanding commitments are fast-tracked and we are able to benefit from the very reasons why they were thought about to be part of these thematic areas. The peace efforts that the country has been engaged in, we know the very sleepless nights that you spend engaging the counterparts of the different countries with a name that we could have a peaceful Africa, a peaceful region, and a peaceful world. So we commend and identify ourselves with that achievement. So for now, those are the comments from the unit. Allow me now to invite any observations from the audience, if any, then we can close this session with you and go ahead with the other waiting entities. Thank you. Yes. Let me introduce you maybe before you say something. That one is here as a member of the National Planning Authority. So you are welcome to be part of this session. You can go ahead with your observation.
Then the other thing that we possibly focus on are joint projects. Joint projects, we can use the after one way, but also finance linked to these projects, because this is going to also leverage and marketing of our countries. At the same time, if you look at the waterfront I want to Victoria. For me, this is more beautiful than Zanzibar, and we could use it as a tool. A major priorities that we can do, and put this in the end before. Then lastly, maybe I would have loved to see you've done enormous work, a lot of work on expanding the digitalization of data. It would be very great if we talked about the result, as a result of this engagement, as a result of this discussion, as a result of the research. I see the work that you do. Could we kindly quantify these many, when I see the numbers in the reports in the media, it would be very good to put those in our reports, so I don't want to quantify the impact of the work that we do. And actually also make it very clear that a message outlets, where we see the many outcries are people who are going after the jurisdiction of what we've already had physically used. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other observation? Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Pastor Luciano. You talked about the issue of some sponsorships that you vote to vote. We need to clarify on the method, not a procedure used to distribute the sure. There is a point when you are distributing them because there will be some conflicts, but they are not fairly distributed.
Okay, last one, because we have many in the queue.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Minister of Foreign Affairs, for a good presentation. My name is James Archibald. I work for SPI, and 340,000 Ugandans working in the Middle East. I would love to know from the ministry if there is any mechanism the ministry uses to track down and address cases of mistreatment and exploitation of these Ugandan workers in the Middle East. And secondly, if there are some dedicated staff officials from the ministry that can handle these emergency cases. My second question is there is a story that has run today in the Daily Monitor showing that truck drivers taking cargo for South Sudan striked because of the mistreatment they face while taking the cargo for South Sudan. And as I understand, a memorandum of understanding was signed between South Sudan officials and Ugandan officials to solve the impasse. But as of this day, it looks like most of the things you people agreed on with the government of South Sudan have not been implemented, and these truck drivers are still facing the same problems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. You will allow me to use my powers to say we will stop there for the question so that we allow the PS respond because we have two other entities in the queue and we want to benefit from listening to all of them. So lastly, PS, the ministry used to host, I don't know whether they still happen, like ambassador retreats or things like that. It would be the wish of the unit that if possible, when these ambassadors are here for the ambassadors of in their retreat, maybe we also come and present some of these achievements and different milestones that the government has achieved, so that when they are there in their missions, they can be able also to showcase where the country has come and where it is. I wish to request you now to formally respond these areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I may, I'll start from the last questions going upwards. Yes, we hold ambassadors' conferences or retreats. We had one in August this year in Jinja. And we take note of the interest, and we shall invite you for the next one next year. Now, on the issue of mistreatment of truck drivers and so on, I want to be politically correct, but it is true we've had issues in the past. Our drivers have complained on a number of issues. These issues we investigate. We engage colleagues on the other side, and these engagements are continuous. And in most cases, when we engage, we refer back to the instruments we've signed. Honorable Minister, you had walked out. I'm sure it was Willis's intention to welcome you, but I'll do it on his behalf. Honorable Mr. says you're very welcome. So we are engaging on the truck drivers, but there's so many other issues, and you'll forgive me, diplomacy may not allow me to go into intricate details. I may end up accusing a state accidentally, so allow me to say that we are engaging. Now, on the issue of the Middle East, 140,000 workers, I think they're even more. The figure is more than that. We have over 100,000 Ugandans in the UAE alone, and maybe twice as much in Saudi Arabia. You need to recognize that a country like Saudi Arabia, you asked, do they report mistreatment? Saudi Arabia is 9 times Uganda. Uganda is 9 times, Saudi Arabia is, you can fit 9 Ugandas in Saudi Arabia. Now you can appreciate the logistical nightmare of knowing who is being mistreated where in a country which is that vast. The unfortunate thing is, one, when these externalized laborers are going, we never know. We only know when they have challenges. That's when they come to us to say, oh no, we are being mistreated here, and then we come in to offer consular services. And also, some of them are in prison. Our missions in Saudi and UAE are always making consular visits to prisons to go and rescue Ugandans. As you can imagine, some are rescued, given an air ticket. The UAE gets to leave, because when you stay in a country and you overstay your visa, you have offended the rules. Even here in Uganda, we arrest people who overstay. Now, the thing about our brothers and sisters, some of them, even when there is a window, go back home and the ticket has been provided, they have stayed in the countries illegally. Having said that, as I said earlier, we are now negotiating, not now, we've negotiated in the past bilateral labor agreements, but we are now scrutinizing the issue of how these externalized laborers are treated, and the countries appreciate it. We've done that with Qatar, we've done that with the UAE, and as I said earlier, with Saudi Arabia. Scholarships. In the scholarships, I want to emphasize one thing, which I had not touched. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is a coordination ministry in as far as everything international relations is concerned on behalf of the government and the people of Uganda. Our job is coordination. When we get the scholarships, we pass them on to the ministry responsible for education. We don't have a desk that distributes scholarships in the ministry. All these scholarships, and in fact you have seen, use Algeria as an example. The Ministry of Education, once you receive the scholarships from Algeria, we pass them on to the Ministry of Education and they run an advert inviting Ugandans to apply for those scholarships. So we don't distribute them, they are handled by the responsible ministry. Otherwise, we get donations in health. You remember during COVID, we coordinated a lot of donations for COVID vaccines. We would have not immunized. We would have given the vaccines to the citizens, but it's not our role. We passed them on to the Ministry of Health to do the vaccinations. So that's what we do as in our role as coordination. Then, of course, certainly NPA, the issues of visas. We are trying to work out bilateral arrangements where we have visa-free regimes for Ugandan citizens. We had gone very far with South Africa, but unfortunately at the time when we were supposed to sign, they went into elections, and the team we were working with was replaced, so now we have to start all over again, and we are hoping that we can achieve that. And then, of course, there are many other countries that we're discussing with. I think we concluded the one with Vietnam. But please note, again, our role of coordination. We start a discussion and hand it over to the people who are responsible for the borders. In this case, the Ministry for Internal Affairs. They're the ones who man the borders in the country. So we work with them. We are working with them to ensure that we increase our scope of countries where we don't need a visa for Ugandans to visit. Then, of course, certainly Uganda has better waterfronts on the lakeside and so on. It is true. We have brought investors to invest in those ones. I think there's a project that is going on in Entebbe by a team from UAE. And we've had so many other interests. But I did mention there are frustrations, even for all these investors. And as Ugandans, not just government, we need to rethink our approach and indeed define what we want. We need to define what we want. All these people come, good projects, well intentions, and somehow in the value chain, we frustrate them, and they're like, no, I can't. The amount of time that they spend becomes actually, if you equate it to the cost of the project, if the project was $1 million, they waste time worth $2 million. So they realize, what am I doing here? I'm wasting a lot more time, and they exit. So we need to do some soul searching and find a mechanism of supporting these potential investors as fast as possible and with minimum bureaucracy. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.